morning, everyone.
Morning.
I want you to take a minute and think about the last steak you had. Where did that steak come from? And I'm not talking about what grocery store you bought it at or what restaurants you had it at, but really, where did that steak start? It all started on a family farm somewhere, but most of the time it goes from the family farm to the sale barn, to the feedlot where it stays for 4 to 6 months at the feedlot, and then it goes to a huge packing house where they slaughter over 5,000 animals a day, and then it goes to a distributor, and then it goes to that restaurant or grocery store where you bought the steak, and then it finally gets to your plate. With all those steps in between, is it any wonder that there's over 12 million pounds of beef being recalled right now? There's just so much room for error. But what if you could get rid of all those steps and you could buy directly from the family farm where that animal was grown? That's what Salt Creek Meats is. I'm Sarah Shivers, and along with my husband Jay, we started Salt Creek Meats within this last year. We sell premium pasture beef directly to consumers and directly to restaurants. About 5 or 6 years ago, when we were living in Dallas, we saw so many people who were looking for farmers markets and who were looking for CSAs and were going to Whole Foods and Sprouts and these type of things, really trying to find out more about their food. There's so much fear around food nowadays that people don't even know what to buy at the grocery store and what all these labels mean. And so when we had the opportunity to move back to Kansas and move back to my family farm, one of the first things we said is, how can we get our beef onto people's plates? And that's how Salt Creek Meats started. Given that we had 2 little girls and built a house in the process, so that delayed things a little bit. But that was how we started, and we kicked off this last year. Salt Creek Meats is built on 3 pillars, and those pillars are quality, connection, and convenience. And we start out with quality because that's the thing you're most concerned about when you go to the grocery store or the meat counter or the restaurant. You want to make sure you're eating quality food. So when we talk about quality, I want to let you know that all of our cattle are Angus cattle. And most of them are black Angus. We do have a few red Angus, but I guarantee they're all the same underneath that hide. But it's quality Angus beef. All of our cattle are pastured. And this is one of those labels that might get confusing when you're in the grocery store or the restaurant. You see pastured, you see grain-fed, you see grass-fed. And I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Pastured for us means all of our animals have access and live out and eat on the pasture their entire lives. We are lucky to live in the beautiful Flint Hills. Only 4% of the original tall grass prairie is still in existence. This is this beautiful prairie that used to extend all across the Midwest, and only 4% of it still remains. And a lot of that is right here in the Flint Hills. And for that reason, people send their cattle from all over the United States to graze in the Flint Hills in the summer. And guess what? I get to live here and raise my cattle here and use that grass all year long. So they get this excellent forage all year long. They also get access to free choice grain the last few months before we butcher them. This helps speed up the finishing process. It gives that nice marbling in your steak that you really want to pack on that flavor. It also adds some fat to the ground beef, so you're getting a nice juicy burger every time you grill that up on the grill. So you're getting a lot of flavor there. And another thing that adds to the flavor is dry aging. When you buy beef at a grocery store or a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, it has not been dry aged. It just goes directly from the packer to the restaurant or the grocery store. Now, what is dry aging? Think of it as this magical taste intensifying process. So what it does is after the animal is slaughtered, it hangs in a chilled room for 14 days. And during those 14 days, a lot of moisture evaporates off that meat, and enzymes start to break down the connective tissue in that meat, and it really intensifies the flavor. So you're just getting more flavor in that meat than what you're gonna buy at a grocery store. So it's really great to add that intense flavor and tenderness to your meat. The second pillar of our business is connection. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm kind of passionate about beef. I love my cows, I love where I get to live, and I love what I get to do. And I want to share that passion with the consumers and restaurants that I work with. And I really encourage all of my consumers to ask questions. If you don't know why we do something, why do we vaccinate our cattle? You know, why do we give them hay? What are those funny things in their ears? An actual question I've had that I had to explain is, that's an ear tag that we use for identification. But I want people to ask me those questions and get to know your food. There's a great Wendell Berry quote that says, to be concerned about food and not food production is absurd. If you love food, you need to know where it comes from. Our last pillar is convenience. Now, HelloFresh and Blue Apron have done a great job of letting people know that they can get great food right at their doorstep. And we do that too. Excuse me. We deliver right to your doorstep. We ship once a week. You can go on our website and buy packages of beef, pick out what you want, and it gets delivered to your doorstep within the next week. We also do deliveries to the Kansas City, Lawrence, and Wichita areas once a month, so we can deliver that beef right to your doorstep. And you know you're getting a quality product, and you're getting a product from someone that can answer the questions that you may have. And we're really excited about the next 18 months. We're going to be working with some more restaurants. We're going to be adding shipping right now. We are in the Midwest shipping right now. We're going to be adding shipping from coast to coast. And we also are going to be adding pastured poultry and pastured pork to our meat business, and we're excited about that. But I would love to answer any questions y'all might have.
In the back.
Great job. What is CSR, or what you said something about different kinds of food?
Oh, CSA.
That's the one.
A CSA is community supported agriculture. And I know there's a few farms around here, typically that's with vegetables that are grown, and what they'll do is they will put together a basket each week, or usually it's each month, and you pay to be a part of this program. And so each month you pick up your basket of seasonal fruits and vegetables, and that's a way of getting lots of different fruits and vegetables and supporting that farmer directly.
Awesome. And then one more question. Do you package? You have your own processing?
We work with a local processor. We work with local butchers. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So just clarify for me, you have like a retail location and internet, or?
We do. You can buy things on the internet. You are welcome to come out to the ranch, ask us questions, learn about where your animals come from. We don't have a storefront that you can walk into at this time. That's a goal.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, we do most of our sales via the internet, and people are welcome to come out and pick up their meat if they want to learn more about the ranch that way. Great question.
Hi, in the back. Can you tell us what kind of grain is the finishing food prior to?
We use ground corn and ground soybeans that come, all of our soybeans come from our farm, and we buy corn within a 10-mile radius, and that's just a small portion of their diet. That is a protein that actually helps boost their efficiency in processing the dry matter of hay and grass. So it just helps boost that efficiency of them ruminating those grasses and being able to finish faster.
Question here on your right.
So I just recently partnered with a farm and a butcher so I could start offering it to my clients. And I've learned more about the process than I would have liked to have known. But, so do you have it to where people can buy like a full side of beef and order it however they want? But if they also just want to get beef jerky or a couple steaks, I mean,
We have it both ways. If you're willing to go in and buy a side or a whole beef, we will have it processed to your specifications. So if you want 2-inch thick ribeyes, we'll get you 2-inch thick ribeyes. And it also helps customize what kind of grind you want on your ground beef. Some people want 80-20 ground beef, and that's what most restaurants use. And to break that down, what that means is it's 80% meat and 20% fat, and they mix it together to get that. I personally like 90-10 ground beef. It's a little bit leaner and it cooks up a little bit cleaner, but that's the perk of buying directly from the producer is you can get whatever you want that way. You can get specialty cuts, and that's one thing that restaurants really like too, is they can get exactly what they want.
In the back.
You said we could come out and visit, but where are you, number one?
That's a good question. We're,
I don't want to float around the Flint Hills.
yeah, it's a beautiful job.
The other part of that question is, what certifications and those types of things did you have to go through to start this and then to work with local butchers?
We are about an hour east of Wichita. south of Eureka, about 12 miles. And so when we come over here, we're actually just a mile north of 400 is where we're at. So 499, you're in the general vicinity.
Sudbury area, is that?
Yeah, that's technically my address. There's not a lot of people that live in Sudbury or know Sudbury.
Yeah.
But as far as certifications, I have, and I just lost certification. I could have told you. There is a certification that I took, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head right now. But basically, it walks you through the process of cattle care. And it, as far as everything from proper birthing techniques, nutrition, and even if you have to put an animal down because they're in pain and suffering, we go through certifications to do that. With the locker, we use a USDA inspected locker. You have to do that in order to resell meat. If you went to, let's say, your parents or your grandparents had some cattle and they had one butchered, and they went to the locker and got it processed, on all of the packaging it would say not for resale. And that just means it was not processed either at a USDA inspected facility, or it wasn't processed on one of the days that they had the USDA inspector there. So we have that USDA inspection. We also have the Department of Health comes out and inspects where we store our meats to make sure that it's, because I can't store my Salt Creek Meats products with my personal products. There has to be separate freezers and everything. So we keep things separate and accountable.
Question again on the right?
Oh, sorry.
So, what is the price point for your meat compared to grocery store? And also, what is your growth plan? Will you be able to accommodate more cattle on your farm, or will you have to be buying from others?
Our price point is probably going to be a little bit more than what it is at the grocery store. Our ground beef is $8 a pound, and then it kind of goes up from there as far as steaks. If you're going to be getting the ribeyes and the tenderloins, those are going to be in the $20 range and things like that. As far as our growth plan, since we came back to my family's ranch, and it was set up as a commercial cow-calf operation, meaning we have cattle that we still raise and that still goes to the feedlot and to the distributors to go to grocery stores and restaurants. And that is awesome because I can just move those cattle to where I need them. So I have this resource of all these cattle, and some of them right now are going to the commercial cattle route. But as we grow our business, and we've already started to do this, we just start to shift that, where some of them are going into the direct sales pipeline. And that's our goal overall, is to be using all the cattle on the ranch to shift to this direct sales pipeline. And that's the perk of having an established ranch, is I don't have to worry about going out and buying more cows, because from the breeding process to the butchering process, it's about 2.5 years. So it's not something that can just be started and you have a profit the next year usually. It takes some time and investment to do that.
To the left.
Okay, so I'm Kansas farm girl, so love Kansas beef. I'm very curious about, in your client or direct to customer, what are the customer avatars that you typically are serving, or the personas? I mean, are they folks like me? I grew up on a farm, I want that fresh meat that I can choose, or are they another type of customer, and do you have to educate people differently?
There's a lot of education that goes on, especially when I go talk to chefs at restaurants, and they say, I want a side of a cow. I'm like, well, it's not a cow. Let's also start with that. We do have a wide customer base. Some of our customers are parents of young families, and they want to know exactly what they're giving their kids and making sure they have healthy foods. We also have a lot of customers who are, I would say, the baby boomer age, who have a little bit more of that disposable income to spend on this type of thing. But a lot of our business right now is going towards restaurants. We're serving restaurants up in Kansas City and Lawrence, hoping to get our foot in the door in Wichita restaurants a little bit more. And I think the disparity between that is a lot of Wichita residents still have a connection to a family farm. They have an aunt and uncle who farms, or they still have a grandparent who farms, so they still feel like they have that connection to food, even if they still buy all their food at the grocery store. A lot of the Kansas City and Lawrence crowd, they are 1 or 2 generations more removed from the food process for the family farm, and they're wanting to get back to that, knowing where their food comes from. But I'm hoping I will be able to work with some Wichita restaurants and start to get our meat around here pretty soon.
Here in the back.
I love what you're doing. This is actually really cool. The question I had was, can you speak to your kind of vaccination methodology and maybe some of the concerns that you see people have, just to kind of address why it is safe?
Yeah. The thing I tell people when they ask me if I vaccinate my animals is I vaccinate my kids and I'm going to vaccinate my cows. Vaccination is all about preventing diseases and preventing pain and suffering. And I can run down a whole list of what vaccinations I give, and it's not a lot, and when I give them and why I give them. We give a pink eye and black leg vaccination when they're about 3 months old. When we wean the cattle, they'll get a respiratory vaccination to help prevent respiratory infections, because nobody wants to be coughing all the time and things like that. If we do have to give antibiotics, we only do it as necessary. You know, if the animal's sick, I will treat them because I don't want them to go through pain and suffering. A lot of the times, right now, we are in a place where we can sort that animal off and it's not going into our direct sales business. So we are no added hormones. We do not use added hormones in our cattle anymore. We don't find it was very popular for the last 20 or 30 years, but the benefit of it just isn't quite as much as it used to be. And as far as antibiotics, a lot of the antibiotics that people are worried about are antibiotics that are fed with the feed in feedlots. And since we're not doing that, we don't have that problem. But the antibiotics that I do give my cattle, there is a withdrawal period. So if I give them something, I have to wait 60 days before I can even think of taking it to the butcher. So there's a withdrawal period. There's not going to be antibiotics in your beef. Just like if you took antibiotics for an infection you have, they're not going to stay in your body for the rest of your life. Your body processes it, it uses it, and then it's flushed out of your system.
In the
Does that
back,
answer all of that?
in the back to your left.
Thanks for what you're doing. We have a son with a class 4 pork allergy, which is very random and fun. There's no bacon in our house. So we found a butcher close to Conway that processes their meat in-house because he cannot have beef that's been processed on a grinder that processes pork. What we've also found is that there's a kosher group here in Wichita with about 2,000 people in it on Facebook. And we're always looking for other beef providers that don't process pork on the same machines that they process beef on. So can you speak to that a little bit?
You know, I would have to talk to my butchers. We are not large. I mean, that's a dream of 10 or 15 down the line. Years down the line, I would love to have my own processing facility where we can keep everything in-house. We're not there yet, but we use 2 local butchers, one in El Dorado and one in Yates Center. And I would have to talk to them to see what their processes are, but I'd love to talk to you more and see what we can do for you. Anybody else?
You talked about plans of incorporating poultry and that type of thing. What about, are there any plans for incorporating bison in the picture? That's a whole nother.
It's a whole other beast, literally. Bison, because they're so much larger, they require whole different facilities. The fences have to be higher, and I can't use the same pins and chutes that I use for my cattle. And so, no, for me, I think they're beautiful, but they're not in our game plan.
What do you do to ensure the purity, I guess, of your supplemental feeds?
All of our feeds, all of our soybeans come from our ranch, so we know, or our farm, so we know exactly where they came from, what went on with them, and all of our corn is bought from neighbors, so we know, we can ask them, you know, anything that's been put on, what's been used, and we have our own system, you know, we can ask them the questions that you guys can ask us, and we have that set up, so we know it's not being shipped in from Iowa or anything, it's just right here within a radius of the ranch.
And it's not modified.
Some of the corn is genetically modified.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Last question. One more. What can we as a Wichita community do for you?
I want you guys to start thinking about where your food comes from, and not just your beef, but all of it. And we've become such a commercialized society, and we love our convenience of going to the grocery store and getting everything we need, or even just doing it online, where I know a lot of moms who get online and they do their shopping and they pull up to Dillon's or Walmart and they load it right into the back of their car. They've never seen the produce, they've never seen what proteins they're picking up, whether it's beef or chicken or anything, they're just buying it because it's convenient. So I want you to start thinking about where your food comes from. Start looking for some local producers, because there's some excellent local producers for almost anything you could want to buy around here. The farmers markets are great, and I would be happy to hook you up with anybody as far if you're looking for things with corn, or if you're looking for leeks, or if you're looking for garlic. I would be happy to help find somebody for you. But just ask questions about your food. Be informed, and you know, if you know of any restaurants or anyone that wants to buy local beef, send them my way. So, thank you, everyone.
Please give Sarah a hand.